Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Political Pegasus here, bringing it back to you guys in Remnant from the Ashes, and in today, we'll be taking a look at my all-new build known as the Corrupted Gift. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So the build's going to be as followed. I have Hive Cannon as my sidearm. From there, with weapon mod attached onto it known as the Hive Shot is a non-removable mod. From there, I have the primary rifle known as the Ricochet Rifle. The weapon mod attached onto it known as Unstoppable Quills. For my melee weapon, I have Wastelander Flail. From there, I have one piece Doomsayer set. I have 2-piece Corruptor set for the chest and legs. From there, my necklace is Vulcan's Detonator. From there, my ring is Blood Font, and my second ring is Gift of the Iskall. Now, with all that in mind, let's go ahead and jump over into traits. So, the three primary traits that I do think is going to be a must for the build are going to be as followed. From there, I do really like Quick Hands for the increased reload speed. I also definitely recommend utilizing Spirit for the increased mod power generation, and then from there, last but not least, Demolitionist for the increased explosion damage. This build is probably going to be focused on explosions, so from there, utilizing Demolitionist is mainly a must for this build. But like I always say in all my videos, guys, if you haven't already, I would probably focus on getting every trait within the course of the game, because there is no set cap limit. It just makes you more versatile, it makes you more prepared for any given situation, and from there, it gives you the best optimal DPS, survivability, as well as experience you can get thus far throughout the course of playing Remnant from the Ashes. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump over into some gameplay. Alright, so we are here on Earth playing on Apocalypse mode. From there, I'll be going over the pros and cons of this particular build, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. So, one of the aspects of this build is going to be heavily focused around explosion. So if you are one that likes a lot of explosions in regards to incinerating multiple enemies in the course of a blink of an eye, then from there, this build's going to be for you. This build has the ability to not only do a lot of AoE output damage, but also a lot of single target damage to boot. With that being said, just keep in mind that a lot of the AoE output explosion damage can also affect you, so you want to be a little bit cautious about that by repositioning yourself accordingly. From there, if you are positioned accordingly, you can do massive amounts of damage to a large group of enemies within the course of just a press of a button. Your Hive Cannon has the ability to not only AoE people down, but it also has the ability to be able to block off little sections of rooms, so that way you can literally continuously AoE them down before they even happen to get to you, and then from there it allows you to go about stacking on that set damage by applying not only a corrosive effect, but it also applies the burning effect as well. And you can just keep stacking that continuously over and over and over again to the point of where they actually start to get staggered. And once they get staggered, what happens is they can't actually move or do anything for anywhere between about 2 to 3 seconds, give or take the enemy. But when that happens, you can literally just lay into them with your primary weapon, known as your Ricochet Rifle, as well as the weapon mod attached onto it for the quills. This will allow you to go about not only causing more stagger damage output to your enemy, but it also makes them where they still get burning and they take a huge chunk of damage repeatedly. And this damage is also AoE, so anyone that happens to be next to them will instantly either get burned or just explode. So with that being said, it is a very fun, awesome, really versatile build at the end of the day. I highly recommend definitely checking it out. From there too, what's also really cool about this build is that you do get a little bit of self-sustain. Not a lot, but enough to pretty much stagnate your healing output accordingly. So the armor set that you currently wear has a passive healing regeneration as well as an increased damage output as long as you don't end up getting hit. With that being said, you continuously go about healing back to full health over time. And from there, I also tied it in with the ring, which allows me to go about amplifying the healing output of what I happen to be doing with my set build. So from there, I'm just getting a lot more passive healing without really having to worry too much about it. So if I get hit with a, let's say, a status effect for like a burning or corrosive or whatever the case may be, anything that does damage over time, it's pretty much mitigated because of my overall healing regeneration. And from there too, if I do end up overrun by a lot of different enemies, I also have the ability to self-sustain myself, clear them out with the Ricochet Belt for AoE output, use the Hive Cannon to do even more AoE output, or if it's an elite, I can literally just burst them as you saw there with the Quills. So at the end of the day, it's a very versatile and utility-based build at the end of the day, and it is a lot of fun. If you haven't tried it already, I definitely highly recommend it. It is a really, really good time with this overall combo. Just keep in mind, like I said, if you are too close, you can blow yourself up, and you can also apply massive status effects to you, which is never really a good thing, so you want to be really cautious in that regard. But at the end of the day, the build's really fun. This is probably one of the most fun builds I've had in quite some time, and it's very well rounded in my opinion, so I would definitely go about taking a look. It's definitely a very unique style to it. One of the other upsides to this build too, since you do have the Ricochet Rifle, you don't have to worry about continuously using your bombs or any form of explosions for your AoE output damage. You can use the Ricochet Rifle. The Ricochet Rifle is not only good for clearing out multiple groups of enemies, but it's also good to bounce off the wall there too, to be able to see if any groups of enemies are around the corner, or to just be able to poke down elites, or so on and so forth. This build's really good at being able to control the map. Being able to use the Ricochet Rifle to scout out where your enemies happen to be, and then using your Hive Cannon mod to be able to clear out a room with the AoE smoke, and then once they all arrive, you just lace into them with the AoE output damage you have. It's actually super effective. A lot more effective than I realized through the testing. But from there, it's actually not only super effective, but from there, it actually gives you the most self-sustain output too, by being able to sit back and let them all come to you while you're passively healing and regenerating. So you don't really have to worry about taking any damage or applying any status effects to you or any form of explosion damage from the backlash of your explosions, as long as you're far enough away. So that is a really, really nice aspect to the overall build. It's definitely a lot of fun. From there, it is a lightweight frame build, so from there you'll have a lot of base mobility, so you'll be able to zip around the map, dodge roll. You won't be overcome from any heavier base armor sets. Keep in mind though, you can't take a lot of hits. You can take about 1 or 2 hits. That's about the max you're going to be able to take in Apocalypse mode with the armor set, depending on what it is. If it's a boss hit, it's going to one-shot you, of course, it's Apocalypse. So you want to keep that in mind when approaching your enemy with caution. So from there, you want to make sure that you are really focusing on your positioning for this particular build, and then you'll be able to capitalize on tremendous amounts of single target AoE output damage and self-sustain without any forms of issues. With all that in mind, you want to be also really wary of the fact that if you're in a tight corridor, you are most likely going to kill yourself. So you want to be very cautious in that regard to make sure that does not happen. So if that is the case, you want to swap over to your melee weapon. If they explode or anything, you're probably dead anyway. But if you really need to use something in that given instance and you can't use your melee weapon, use your Ricochet Rifle. Do not swap to the Hive Cannon. If you are in a close corridor space, you will die. So that is one thing to be mindful of. Another thing to be mindful of too, from there, is that a lot of the course of these builds that I happen to go about doing, I do use a lot of consumables throughout the course of my rotation, and that is okay. You can more than welcome to utilize consumables in any given build you happen to be doing, whether it's on normal or Apocalypse mode. Apocalypse mode is more recommended to utilize consumables. I always carry them around in bulk just to make myself have a little bit extra self-sustain, to be able to bolster myself and my abilities at the end of the day, and just capitalize on my overall effectiveness, not only through my mobility, my damage output, but my survivability as well. So that is one thing to note, and that's why a lot of these videos you see me continuously rotate out my consumables, because they are as much as a value to me within the course of my build as thus my build happens to be. So definitely keep that in mind when going forward, when doing any form of builds on your own, or doing any builds that you happen to see me go about doing, is that you want to capitalize on using your consumables, especially playing at this high level of gameplay, because If you end up getting flanked or caught out, or if you end up screwing up in any way, shape, or form, your consumables can make up for that and not have to worry about you continuously having to proc consumables on the fly. So a lot of the times I'll pre-proc my consumables to make sure they are all up and running and I don't have to worry about activating them when I do need them. So yeah, but other than that, it's pretty much it, guys. If you guys haven't already, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys real soon. Later.